Okay, so we decided to start with you arrive in Japan, and then the question is what now? So I want to quickly talk about how my start in Japan looked like and what I learned from that. And then Aki has some really good lessons on that. So I did book a Japanese language school in Tokyo, and this included homestay in a Japanese family, and it's not cheap. So it's just something I really wanted to do, stay there 4 or 5 weeks and get to like just learn a bit more Japanese. And the first week I arrived, I couldn't go in the homestay, so I took like a really cheap hotel, a really small room somewhere on the outskirts of Tokyo. And I just wanted to save money because it's a lot about budget, right? When you're young, you're traveling, it's a lot about budget. And this was fine, but you kind of lost like if especially if you're in a hotel, you do not have anybody to ask a question or to get to know or something. And this will keep with you if you decide to do your travels just in like hotels or rent a place or something. It's really hard to get to know people. And so when I moved to a week later, I moved to the homestay, and then suddenly you have somebody that you can just ask about what's this, how do you do this, or how do I register? Can you take me, or can you show me how to get to the office where I need to register and bank account, and I need a hanko and whatever. And so even later in your travels, it's really good to stay in a place where Japanese also stay. So this can be hostels or like this. If you rent a room in a shared house, you can look that it's not only foreigners, but maybe also Japanese. And so, yeah, it's just my starting experience was quite not rough, but it's just different when you go on holiday for a week or two. It doesn't matter, but if you want to quickly start, then you kind of need something different. So yeah, with this, I give to Aki. And welcome, Gigi. Welcome.
Hi, Gigi-san. Thank you so much. And also, I'm going to show how I'm making my first week of moving to different country. So for Gigi-san, just in case, like I used to, like I quit my job 2019 and keep on traveling since then in Denmark, Austria, Australia, and now in Hungary. So like I'm taking for working holiday, and then my recommendation of the first week as accommodation is three options. Honestly, if you already have Japanese phone number, you can increase your possibility because I know local information. But if you are still living in outside Japan, these three option is my highly recommend. So firstly, maybe someone already know couch surfing. This is like app. You can find the local people who wish to have culture exchange. You're just going to sleep their house for free. Then, my date you can decide. Like you can request, may I sleep at your place for 2 nights, like 3 nights, like a week, or blah 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 blah. And if you can make agreement, you can stay for free. Second one is workaway. This is live in volunteer option. So like you can find the organization or family who are looking for volunteer, and then you can stay for free and having free accommodation and also free Wi-Fi, free meal, free shower, free friendship, long term. The reason I recommend these two is in the beginning of your journey, most important things is to be ready for settling down, like having good SIM card, what local people use, the bank account. Well, now we have Wise, so we don't need to serious about it. But and also you can get to know the local people who you can keep in touch if something happened to you in the future. So you can ask for help. Hey, sorry, I'm Aki. Like I stayed your place like last month. May I ask a local question? Blah 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 blah. So from beginning, like before moving to Japan, I highly recommend to download Couchsurfing and Walkaway. Like for registering these two apps, you need to pay like 20 euro something for a year, but it's much cheaper than living at hotel, cheaper than one night living in a hotel or hostel. And then you can use for 1 year, and then you can keep on traveling. So like in the beginning, I highly recommend to use Couchsurfing or Walkaway to save your money and also get to know local people immediately from the beginning of your journey. And third one is like FBG, Facebook group history search. It means if you're already clear about what you want to do in Japan, go to Facebook group, like now working holiday in Japan also one of the options. But like my photo, this is horse farm in Australia. I really wanted to go horse farm to practice my riding. So I searched on Facebook group history horse farm. And then you can find the previous post. Sometimes it's 5 years ago, sometimes 9 years ago, but they might still looking for your help. And also they want to hire someone. So before moving to Japan, if you're not sure where you need to go or you want to be for 1 week or 2 weeks or a month or something, just search your ideal job first. Sometimes they offer live-in working place. So for me, horse riding. For you, I'm not sure. So hopefully we can get to know each other later, and then hopefully I can help. So this is my 3 biggest recommendation. If you don't have Japanese phone number and also still outside of Japan. Thank you.
And you also have the option to do woofing, which is willing workers on organic farms. So that's kind of a little bit what Aki did here, where you become a member and you can just work on the farm field and you get food and accommodation. And that's also like, it's also even during your travel, after you traveled a half a year, you say, hey, I really want to experience the lifestyle in the countryside, then that's also an option. I haven't done woofing, but I've registered at that time, and I know that there's definitely woofing spots in Japan.
Mm-hmm. So I just searched in Tokyo, there are 46,000 people in Couchsurfing.
Okay. So I just wanted to talk a bit about my traveling, and like it's more about budget. So if you, especially if you're younger, you might not have a big budget, so it's very hard to live off your budget. And so I'm just will try to explain some stuff, and I will talk about transportation, short-term accommodation, long-term accommodation, and food. And then I will always go from my experience from expensive to cheap. So what's the most expensive option, and then going down to the cheaper option. So my experience was that air travel and Shinkansen travel are the most expensive, and usually you use them when you don't have time. So if you're on a working holiday, you have time. So you should try to avoid them unless with air travel you might get really good like travel, especially if you go like, let's say from Hokkaido to Kyushu, like you have a long travel, then maybe air travel might even be cheaper. So there's expectations. Usually in Japan, you can only book 3 months in advance and not before. So the cheapest ones is usually Jetstar or Peach Air. They are the cheapest flights. Your next option is like a normal train, which I think I never used like a normal train style, that you can just buy a normal train ticket, like except like in cities, obviously you should go by train or subway. Then you will have buses, overnight buses. You can go from Tokyo to Kyoto overnight, and then you kind of save your accommodation as well. So it makes it cheaper because you save one night of accommodation, but obviously it's not very comfortable. Then you can do ferry rides. Same if you do longer travel, you can use a ferry. I went from Hokkaido down to Kyushu on a ferry, and you can sleep on the ferry. And so that makes it a good travel. It's harder to research. It's not super foreigner friendly. It's not very common, but I can definitely recommend you should do it once. And as soon as you go to like Okinawa, then there's more options with the ferry usually as well. But like I said, you can take like bigger ferries going around. Then in the summer months, there's the Seishun Johachikibu, which is 18 years ticket, but everybody can buy it. And with this, you can use a full day of local trains. So you can not take like express trains, but you can take any local trains. And so with this, you can actually make it from Tokyo to Kyoto in like 10 to 11 hours by just keeping going on the next local train. And especially my travel from Sapporo up north, I did with this. And this was a lot of fun because you end up on really small local trains with just one car with a driver, engine, everything in the car. And then it's just going to be you and some old Japanese lady going from one village to the next village to buy food. And it's just a very unique experience. So usually it's a 5-day pack. So you buy a 5-day pack. I think it was 2,000 yen per day. And then you can travel like all local trains for one day. So it's just a fun way to travel and one of the cheapest I think I found. And then the cheapest obviously is free. So hitchhiking. I never hitchhiked before I came to Japan, but I did extensive hitchhiking in Japan. My experience is that mostly people will pick you up. I had one spot where nobody picked me up, which was just a bad spot as well. Obviously, in the big city, it's not possible. So try to get on the outskirts of the city. And it's not very common in Japan, but Japanese are curious. So they will pick you up because they're curious and they will, hey, where are you from? How long have you been waiting? Am I the first to stop? All this kind of stuff keeps, and obviously here Japanese helps a lot. And then once you're in the car, you're almost part of the family. They will buy you drinks, they will invite you to dinner or something. So it's a very unique experience. It takes some guts to do it. But yeah, like I said, my experience was always good, especially at more countryside. Like if you're traveling in Hokkaido outside of Sapporo, usually you will get it. And you will learn on the way, like where do you stand? People should have a chance to stop, right? People should see you in advance. All this kind of normal hitchhiking stuff. And then, like I said, there's not many hitchhikers, but it's definitely an option to do. You can travel by car, obviously, but that's something I want to cover last. Short-term accommodation, again, expensive to cheap. Most expensive, Western-style hotels. So everything you kind of know, you have a bed and everything. Just bigger official places are usually expensive. Then you would go to like bigger Japanese-style hotels, like a hotel style, like I don't know, there's some big brands, right? There can be cheaper options sometimes depending on where you are, but usually they are also more on the expensive side. Then you come to a ryokan, which is the traditional guest house, which has like a bigger experience. They can be expensive, but they can also be cheaper depending on where you are in this, especially better in the smaller the cities get, the better it is to try to stay like local style. So there's the ryokan, and then later on there's another style of accommodation. Then in the big city, there's the option of love hotels. They are not meant to stay long term, but you can have very nice rooms for cheap, especially during the day. So if you just want to rest for some time, and it's my experience is not so easy, especially you can't really research it. You have to walk around, and it can be a bit awkward because obviously it's not meant for you to stay longer, but they will let you in. So usually it should be fine. Then the next cheaper option is a business hotel. They don't exist everywhere. So what my experience was when you have like a city which is like has a nice onsen, but also has business, then you might have like this nice onsen hotel with a nice spa and buffet and everything. And on the other side of the road, you might have a business hotel, which is 1/3 of the price, and you just get a small room and your own shower, but you can use the spa in the other place. So there's some good options with that. And then we come to the other Japanese option, which is Minshuku. So I definitely recommend you to try Minshuku, which is like one step down from the ryokan. Usually you don't have your own bathroom, but they might have like a spa, kind of like an onsen style, or something like this, and they might provide food. And usually if you take with no food, they're really cheap, like 3,000 yen, 3,500, especially outside of the city, or like in smaller cities, let's say less than 500,000, less than 200,000, then you're getting in this range where might be the only option actually. Then in the big cities, on the outskirts, you might have hotels which provide like really just a basic room. So you have air conditioning, but it's centrally controlled, and it's like super small. You can lay down and your suitcase, and that's it. A lot of homeless, half homeless, like Japanese style homeless, stay in these places, which is absolutely no problem. It's always safe. But yeah, they are always outside, like in the Ueno area in Tokyo. You can go up in the go away from the train station, then you will find these. Then obviously hostels, they're kind of the same price. They're very good in big cities. They're very cheap in Okinawa, for example. And then you have the capsule hotel, which is a bit cheaper. I stayed in a few of them. You kind of like, we all saw them, right? You get a capsule and you usually you don't need to bring anything. There's a towel and there's shampoo and everything, which makes it very nice. They're very cheap to stay during the day. So I did go out all night and then stay there at day sometimes. Then two more, which cost something, which is like some city spas. They will allow you to just sleep in a common room. So yeah, it's very noisy. I've did it only once, and yeah, that's kind of an option. And then the internet cafe, I'm sure you've seen them. They're like 1,500 yen, but you just get a box, and it's very hard to sleep there. So I tried it. I don't recommend it, but it's cheap. And then lastly, couch surfing, obviously. That's free, right? So definitely try that if you have the chance to do that. Long-term accommodation, actually for long-term, obviously hotels is not payable. Hostels can be an option, but they're more of the expensive option. You then have the option of a shared house where you get a room, and usually it includes like all your electricity, Wi-Fi, everything is included, and then you have a shared shower and you have a shared like sitting area with a TV and everything. They're nice, especially if you stay like 1-2 months in a city. Like when I worked in Tokyo, I stayed at a place, but they're not the cheapest. And you will meet Japanese, what we talked before. So you will have some Japanese staying there. So that's nice to kind of have a contact. Then the next cheaper option is a rented apartment. So if you can manage to find somebody who accepts foreigners, there are some offers in the group. This tends to be kind of the cheapest option to just rent a place, especially if you're 4, 5, 6 months in Tokyo, for example, then that's probably the cheapest option. And then obviously free option is when you work somewhere and your employer gives you a room or your employer gives you something. So this can be like you just work for the accommodation and food, or this can be you work at a ski resort and there's just nothing there but the ski resort. They will provide you a room. So that's when I worked in the mountains. Then they gave me a room and food. So this is obviously the cheapest option. And the last section is food. Obviously, all kind of Western food, everything you might be used to is very expensive in a restaurant. Then the next one is like normal Japanese restaurants, right? There's a wide range. You can be expensive and you can get cheaper depending on what you want to buy. Then there's fast food, like what you know, right? McDonald's, KFC. It's cheap. It's not the cheapest, but it's cheap. Then you have Japanese fast food, which usually is healthier, quicker, and cheaper, which is like Sukiya, Yoshinoya. You will get a bowl with meat. It's very, like I said, it's very fast. It's tastes very good, and usually it's not super healthy, but it's a lot more healthy than eating hamburgers. And then stuff like ramen shops and stuff like this. And then on the same level is like lunch specials. So you might have a all you can eat 500 yen option or get a pizza for lunch at 500 yen. So this is where you actually can try to cover your craving of, oh, I need some food of my country, try to go at lunchtime, try to get a lunch deal, maybe with a drink, right? And it's expensive, but not super expensive, and you might get really good deals. Then convenience stores, like 7-Eleven, it's amazing. You pay like 500 yen, 600, sometimes 300, and you get like a full meal, basically. You have some rice, you have some meat, you have some vegetables. Yeah, I really miss it. Like in Germany, we don't have this style, so that's really good. Then lastly, you have supermarket where you can buy like some you can just buy some items you like, right? You can buy stuff for cooking, or you can just buy, let's say, some croque, and you make some rice in your place you're staying, and you're really cheap. And then lastly is supermarket just before the closing. Learn the kanji for half price, and you will be able to get some of the meals they prepare for half the price. And then that's kind of as cheap as it gets for like a bigger set of meal. So this is the categories, and just quickly, right? It's a lot of information, but that's kind of what my experience was. I think it should still kind of follow this pattern. And then when I came to Japan, I actually wanted to buy a car and travel and live in my car. I failed to do so because I was very stupid and got my wallet stolen, including my driver's license. Until I had my new driver license, everything like I was already traveling 2 months, so I was like, okay, it's too late. Buying a car is not easy, and especially in Tokyo, you need to have an address. You need to prove that you have a place where you can park your car and all this kind of stuff. But later on, I rented a car 1 month for 10,000 yen. 10,000? No, 100,000 yen. Well, for around 800 euros. I rented a car, and my thinking was, well, if I sleep in the car, I save all the money for accommodation. I will not need to buy transportation, and I can go to places where I don't get to easily by train or something. And it was great. So I traveled quite a lot. I traveled whole Shikoku, and I traveled the lower part of Honshu by car, and it was just an amazing experience. So I rented a car. I bought like a futon and a pillow, and just went for it. I rented like a small engine car, and I stayed off the highways because highways are expensive. And there's a so-called Michi no Eki, which is the train station of the road, kind of translated roughly. And basically, you can stay there overnight. It's okay for you to stay there overnight. It's not super busy, but you will see some Japanese doing it. You can sleep there. You have a toilet. Sometimes you will have an outlet or plug. If you're really lucky, you might have like internet. But that's kind of like really good for traveling and driving in Japan. I always felt very safe. And that was just a good experience. Like you can stop in a spa, like in an onsen, and just take a shower there. So this is one thing I can recommend. If you don't want to buy, you can try to rent on a monthly basis. They're not so expensive. You want to get a J Jidosha, so the small cars, but small engine, but big cars. You have them as well. So this was kind of my quick quick put in of all the information I wanted to give you.